This story time, right? Story time, crazy story time on how I got pulled over. Okay? Yes, I got pulled over, bro. I got pulled over. This is on more of a serious note. Alright. So look. So look. Where I don't even know where to start. Okay. Uh hmm. At a meet. Okay. We had a meet. I forgot. Oh yeah. It was Sunday. Last Sunday we had a meet. Okay. We end up going to the meet. Cool, right? It's all cool. Everything's cool. Meet was fine. You know, seeing the homies, Kevin and uh, Max, shaking my head, Max. All right, we end up seeing everybody. All right. So we end up going to go get food. Well, that was a fail because we end up losing the people that we were following to go get food at a light. Okay. So at that point, I was like, just go ahead, send it on home, right? So uh, Desi, I'm gonna just call her Desi because y'all don't know her. Okay, Desi gets um the address back home. Right, cool. Right, Desi 123 1 2 3 3. Okay, she ends up going and getting the address to get back home. Now we're on the way home. Right, probably about yeah. On the way home, we're driving. Cool. Okay, we ended up basically passing a cop. Now cop gets over behind me and follows me for, let's see, let's do some calculations. I'm not gonna lie, he probably followed me for probably about 10 minutes. All right. No, I wouldn't even say that. He probably followed me for probably about like 15 minutes, close to 15 minutes. All right. Um, let's see. So I'm gonna put in the address right now. Put in the address right now. All right. So he ended up following me for 13 minutes, okay, to be exact. He followed me for 13 minutes. Now, I'm talking about now we passed a certain area, right? We passed a certain area, okay? From there, he gets over behind me. Cool. He got a blinker on. He's getting ready to turn. So I'm like, okay, cool. He gets ready to turn, whatever, right? Past that light where I thought he was going to turn, he doesn't turn. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I guess that's fine. Then from there, now I'm coming up on cars that are turning, into a building or whatever. So I get over to the middle lane, right? He whips over in front of me. Whips over behind me. I said whips over in front of me. He whips over behind me. Okay. Now at this point, sorry. At this point, okay, I'm now realizing like, okay, I see what type of time he's on, right? So at this point, okay, I'm like, let me just make sure and verify, right? So we get over, I hop over to the fast lane. He's still in the middle lane. What does he do? He hops over behind me. Okay. So at this point, like I said, I know what type of night this finna be. Okay. So at this point, we get to the light. He's sitting there behind me. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, just keep composure, keep calm, keep everything cool, right? We ended up, right, driving a little bit further down. All right. We ended up driving a little bit further down, going around a corner, going up and around a corner. Okay. I hop over to the middle lane. Now he's still in the fast lane, but he was behind me. But at this point, the amount of driving that we've been in, he kind of like backed off, right? So I hop over to the middle lane, not in one motion, right? Hop over to the middle lane, hop over to the slow lane, right? Now, what does he do? He speeds up, hops over to the middle lane, hops over to the middle lane, and he just sits. Now, at this point, I'm like, okay, he obviously is on my coattail, right? So at this point, I'm going 20. I'm going 20 in the slow lane, right? Which I'm not breaking no laws. Like I said, I'm in a slow lane. If I was going 20 in the fast lane, then yeah, I'll understand. But brother knows his laws, right? So we ended up going, and I'm going 20 miles an hour. He's literally on my coattail going 15. Okay. He slows all the way down. I'm talking about traffic is behind him just waiting, y'all. Traffic is behind him, literally waiting on him to move, okay? So he's riding, and I'm talking about he's like behind me to the point where he can still see my tag, right? So we end up getting further down, right? Then I hop over to the middle lane, back in front of him, but he was, like I said, a little bit further back. And then I'm like, okay, cool. We coming up on a light turned green, right? Slow lane was clear. Slow lane was clear. There was a car in the middle lane, so it was just getting taking off, right? So I hop back over to the slow lane, go around just to keep it moving, continuous movement, right? So hop back over there. We get up, and like I said, at this point, it's been like 10 minutes, right? He's been following me for 10 minutes. So I'm like, okay, cool, right? So at this point, I hop over to the slow lane, go around the middle car, right? I go to hop over from lane to lane, okay? And I look in my rear view. I look in the rear view. And when I tell you guys, he is flying up on my bumper and lights me up. Okay? He is flying up on my coattail and he lights me up. All right. So at this point, okay, I'm like, okay, keep calm, like, but I'm also thinking at the same time, what the heck, right? So I ended up now. Some of my past friends have had experiences with Gwinnett County Police, all right, and their experiences was not they didn't really end well either. Okay, so they ended up basically I ended up pulling over to a parking lot, right, and the first thing that happens is I scrape, number one, right? He's behind me. I scrape. I'm like, bro. Yeah, scrape, right? And I'm like, dude, I like at this point, it comes to the realization of I'm cooked. Okay. I'm literally cooked. So I tell Desiree, I'm like, okay, like he's cooked. He's finna get me for everything. Like at this point, he's finna get me modified exhaust, modified suspension, unsafe vehicle to drive, tents, everything. Like he's finna get me for everything, right? So he ends up, pulling me over. I go into the parking lot. He walks up on the car. Now, like I said, y'all know, okay, we're like this, right? So he's here, I'm here, right? So he gets out the car, and instead, at that point, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get my license, my ID. They're going to ask, right? So I get my license, and I also have my attorney's card, right? So, y'all know how that works. Don't ask me no questions. Just talk to my attorney, whatever you got to ask. So he walks up, is literally going to walk up on the driver's side, and then changes his mind and walks over on the passenger side, right? So he looks in the, like, pretend this is a flashlight, right? So he looks over, he's looking in the car, right? Oh, how are you doing today? He goes and tells me, right, that my tag looks like HI1M, right? But I'm like, to sit here and follow me for 13 minutes on my coattail and you cannot see, I'm like, I even got to the point, I went 20 minutes. I went 20 miles an hour. He went 15. There's no way in the world that you did not see my tag. So when he tells me that, oh, well, your tag doesn't look, it looks like it says HI1M, which just wouldn't be smart. Why would my tag say HI1M? So at this point, I'm just looking, and I'm like, bro, you follow me for 13 minutes just to light me up to say my tag doesn't look how it looks, right? So he asked me, oh, is your license expired or anything? So I'm like, okay, nah, it's not. Like, and he said, when you drove past me, it beeped. Okay, so I'm like, at the end of the day, you see the little corner sticker on the tags that say 25 or whatever month, right? So he's seen that and still decided to pull me over. So I'm like, okay, cool, right? So at this point, he asked for my ID, right? I give him my ID, right? Give him my ID. I give him my attorney's card, right? Hand it both to him, right? Now, at this point, he comes to the realization of like, oh, shoot, like, I don't know. You could just definitely tell his whole demeanor just changed, right? So he was like, oh, you got legal services or whatever. I don't even know. I don't even remember what he said for sure. So at that point, then he shines his light under my radio. And I guess he's trying to look for something. Now, you got the wrong one because I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't none of that. I don't carry weapons, none. So basically, he's looking for something. I'm like, okay, what you got? So then he says, sit tight, and he walks back to the car. Now he comes back. Now I look back and I'm like, bro, if he has, because he basically told me what I did was I crossed the single line, I crossed the solid white line, right? Which I don't remember doing that. But I'm like, bro, if he comes back with a ticket, I'm going to be pressed, bro. So he comes back, just my ID and my attorney's card, right? He comes back and he gives it to me. And first thing he says out of his mouth, right? First thing he says is, I love the color of your car. He literally sat here. You wasted my time to sit here and tell me that you love the color of my car. So at this point, I'm like, I appreciate it. I'm irritated though, because like I said, keep composure. But I'm irritated. But I'm like, bro, like, you know. So he ended up telling me, oh, you crossed the white line, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. So, just keep it moving, be safe out there. I said, yo, you be safe as well. And he kept it moving. But I just don't understand. I've never understand why police officers did that. Like, okay, if you're gonna pull somebody over, then pull somebody over. But like, even on my way home tonight, right? Even on my way home tonight, there's literally an officer that I ended up. What happened? So I passed a QT, right? He pulls out a QT. Now I don't understand why people do this, right? People, when you pull up to a light, right? There was two turning lanes, and there was two lanes to go straight. Everybody stacks up in the slow lane. I'm talking about there's like 8 cars in the slow lane. There's no cars in the fast lane. So I'm like, why is everybody doing that? So I literally go front of the line of the fast lane, right? And then there's two turning lanes on the side. And he pulls out a quick trip, and then he gets on the slow lane, and then he swerves over to the fast lane, gets over behind me. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I said, I'm not gonna. A lot of people, what they do is they basically like will move out the way, but it's like I don't feel like, okay, when it comes down to it, unless you got somewhere to be, turn your lights on, go where you need to go. But I'm not gonna like just move out the way. So basically, we ended up driving for a few miles, right? We ended up driving for a few miles. And then at this point, it got to the point I'm like, okay, I just don't want to make sure, you don't just drive up on me. Because what they like to do, they like to just about hit you before they turn their lights on. So I move out the way, right? At this point, this officer gets over behind me. I'm like, are we finna sit here and have a part two? Okay. So we're driving, he drives over behind me. Now, at this point, we're getting further and further down the road, and he's just cruising behind me. So I'm like, okay, he could be reading my plates. I don't know what he be doing, right? Like I said, I don't have nothing on my record. So when it comes down to it, I'm not tripping about none of that. All right. So we ended up going, and then I ended up getting over at a light, right? He ends up pulling over beside me. And what he said, bro, he literally says, he rolls down his window. I'm like, oh, shoot, here he comes, right? I like your car. That the officer literally rolls up beside me and says, I like your car. But it's like, bro, if you gonna say that, then say that. But at the end of the day, you didn't have to get over behind me like you were finna pull me over to tell me that you liked your car, that you like my car. That's one thing I just do not understand. Like the way they be moving, like they be like, oh, people be moving suspicious, but like they move suspicious. And they don't realize, like, okay, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, okay, you will end up, like I said, me personally, okay, I'm not scared of the police, right? So I'm not like I said, at the end of the day, I'm gonna keep my composure, whatever, right? Because I know what to do in situations. So, but it's like a lot of other people may not be as comfortable with police officers behind them or just police in general. So it's like, bro, if y'all got something to say, pull them over, say what you got to say and be done. But don't sit here and trail people. And I cannot stand when they do. They sit here and they trail people and they basically make the people anxious and they make people, yeah, I don't understand. But yeah, other than that, that was my story time, okay, on how I got pulled over. And honestly, this has been the first time ever since I've gotten my car wrapped. I've never never gotten pulled over ever since I had a car wrap. So I got the car wrap ever since, like this whole setup, never had to pulled over. So This was the first time, but like I said, we left out of there, no tickets, no nothing. All right. So other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy stream. All right. That being said, please, if y'all see this on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, subscribe. All right, if you see this on Twitch, please make sure you follow. I'll be very much appreciated. And you see this on any other thing, make sure you hit follow, subscribe, or whatever. All right. That being said, I will see you guys. And I'm not even gonna say when the next stream will be, but it'll probably be next week for sure. But yeah, because tomorrow's Sunday, so yeah, it'll be next week for sure. So like I said, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much, and I'll see you guys next week's stream.